We've all had the experience where it's a Friday, you're fresh off of work, and you decide to have a movie night. Last week, while you were hate watching Love is Blind, you noticed that you saw Dune on Netflix. So you pop open Netflix, type in D-U-N-E, and it's nowhere to be found. No worries, you also saw that it was streaming on Hulu. So you close Netflix, open up Hulu, wait for the app to launch, D-U-N-E, and where the hell is this thing streaming? Okay, it's on something called Tubi, also on Freebie, Fubo TV, Zumo, Bebo, Squeebie, Teleplus, and oh good, it's also on HBO, it's on Max.
A little over a decade ago, streaming on Netflix pitched a cheaper alternative to cable and renting movies. It promised a nearly endless library of movies and TV shows while giving you the freedom to watch whatever you want, whenever you want.
It's movie time with a wee twist. Netflix now delivers unlimited TV episodes and movies instantly through Wii, plus DVDs by mail, all for only $9 a month.
Seriously, what is it?
14 years later, we find ourselves in an era of Warner Brothers deleting movies entirely, too many streaming services to count, and mega mergers between entertainment corporations. Hulu is on Disney Plus now? What does that mean? What does this mean?
But the method in which we watch movies at home has never been a fixed one. Of course, the art of making movies themselves has evolved, but over the last 100 years, the film industry has been forced to rapidly shift and change the way they deliver those films to customers.
In the early 20th century, the average moviegoer's experience was relatively simple. You just left your house, went to the theater, and watched whatever was playing. This would be a normal part of your week because by the 1930s, the film industry had taken America by storm, and the rest of the world, I guess, I don't know. Filmmaking was a decades-old art at this point. American audiences had already seen the rise and fall of on-screen legends like Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton, or that train that came at the screen so fast it freaked everybody out.
Movies had successfully ingrained themselves as a regular weekly entertainment source in American life, but all of that was about to change. Early television broadcasts were starting to pop up in major cities across the country, and the film industry had nothing to do with it. The movie studios were so concerned about the television that the Motion Picture Association even stated in 1939 that they should never let the idea become generally accepted that the television means pictures in the home instead of pictures in the theater. Are you listening to me, dude?
What? Oh, sorry, I was watching Past Lives on my phone.
But the movie studios didn't need to make such a big deal out of things. After the stress of World War I, they should just relax. It's not like there's gonna be another World War or anything.
After the events of Pearl Harbor, American men were drafted to serve across the globe, and it's a good thing we weren't alive during that time because my knee, I just got a bad knee.
I'm afraid of landmines, so that won't work. The major movie studios at the time were Paramount, 20th Century Fox, Universal, Columbia, Warner Brothers, MGM, and a few more. This handful of companies ruled over American entertainment due to the fact that they also operated and owned the movie theaters themselves.
The amount that Americans went to the movie theater is almost completely unrecognizable to the way it's culturally viewed today. Weekly movie theater attendance was around 80 million people. That's 80 million people seeing a movie every week out of 132 million. That's 543% of all Americans.
It's actually 65%, but don't call them out in the comments. I don't want them to feel bad.
But once the war was over and Hitler killed himself, Americans wanted to do two things more than anything else: make babies and watch television.
Previewing our post-war world, let's look into a brand new development. Television. Here's an expert with the lowdown on the inside facts.
I believe in this world to come. I think it's going to be a pretty good world. But I've been asked to tell you about television. It's going to brighten the world of your home.
Television quickly went from an exciting new technology with 6,000 TV sets in American homes in 1946 to 12 million by 1951. Television was quickly becoming a staple in American culture, and also the world, I'm sure. I don't know, who cares? But unlike the pre-war era and the current business today, movie studios didn't have a chokehold on the business. In fact, they were a direct competitor who was losing profit to television. This is because radio companies, mainly the big three of NBC, CBS, and ABC, had experience in broadcasting and had jumped at the medium of television while it was still in its experimental early days.
With the film industry's business being solely based on ticket sales sales from people going to the theater, let's just say the major studios were not a huge fan of the ability to watch entertainment in your home. They would also be met with another devastating blow to their business. To put it in gamer terms, the US government introduced an update that patched the studio's infinite money glitch, knocked them down the leaderboard, and hit their Italian with a Goomba or something, I don't know. Antitrust laws were introduced that eliminated studios' ability to own theaters themselves, forcing them to give up their control of distribution.
What an archaic thing for the US government to do. If you break up big companies like this, how will I, along with every other American, one day become a billionaire?
Morons. Not looking out for the little guy.
They just don't get it. So after the antitrust blow and the invention of the television, studios were right to be worried, because by 1956, the TV had become widely adopted, and attendance in movie theaters had dropped by 50% from its peak in 1946. In just 10 years, they had lost half of their business. So unlike in 1939, when studios vowed to never let you watch movies in your home, they were now forced to change their tune. A massive number of Americans were choosing to stay home, watch TV, drink, and chain smoke while pregnant. But more importantly to studios, this meant that people weren't watching movies at all. Studios needed to reach people in their homes, so they decided to try screening movies on television, formatted down and split up by commercials. Real quick, Tony just texted me while sitting next to me and said, "Money, money, money, please." So, a quick word from our sponsor, sorry.
Hi, I'm Tiny Tony, and this video is sponsored by Scentbird. Every morning I roll around in slop and I'm tired of stinking. Scentbird is a fragrance subscription that lets you choose a new designer fragrance to try every month for just $17. Every month you get to pick which fragrance you want to receive with an affordable and flexible subscription plan. With each fragrance, you'll have a 30-day supply so you can try out fragrances before committing to a full-size bottle. That can cost over $150 and some are even $300 to $500. The scents come in vials in these cases where you can switch to lock them for travel or switch them to open and spray. They sent me Boyfriend, Kinetic, North Atlantic Right Whale, and the Architects Club by Arquise. I like Boyfriend the best because it has spicy notes and they sent Tiny Tony a boyfriend. Tiny Tony loves changing up his smells even more than being tiny. So use the coupon code BURBACK55 off for 55% off your first month at Scentbird. It's just a little over $7 for your first month, available in the USA and Canada. Do I say something tiny back to the tiny? I'm Tiny Tony and back to the big video.
Now, we couldn't find a reliable source on which movie event was the first to grab the public, but after screenings of things like King Kong and The Wizard of Oz drew massive ratings, they could no longer ignore that sweet, sweet cash and were forced to make a deal with the networks to regularly screen movies on television.
NBC's Saturday Night at the Movies in 1961 was the most prominent program to do this on a weekly basis.
NBC Saturday Night at the Movies presents Billy Jack.
Inspiring other networks like CBS and ABC to follow as well.
Every network, and by every we mean like the only three, started doing these events all week. NBC started Monday nights at the movies, ABC had Sunday nights at the movies, mid-Wednesday afternoon at the movies, and CBS is that moment in the morning where the sun shines through your blinds at the perfect angle to hit your eyes and wake you up at the movies. At this point, the well of films to screen on TV starts to become pretty dry. With all three major networks airing a movie like every day, the amount of properties they can make a deal with studios for gets smaller and smaller. This forced them to start production on made-for-TV movies. I mean, can you imagine a tiny selection of powerful entertainment companies controlling basically all of at-home film and TV distribution, swallowing up the right to every old project to the point where the competition is so saturated and confusing that they have to start making their own original content just to keep up, even if it meant degrading the quality of art? Good thing it ain't like that now. And the push of technology putting pressure and challenges on movie studios continued into the mid-70s with the release of the Betamax by Sony in 1975. The Betamax had a surprisingly underwhelming appearance. After doing some digging, we found a picture, and this is what a beta looks like.
You see that reflection?
Yeah, that's you. you're the Beta.
Betamax was a machine that allowed you to record live TV and copy it onto a tape, allowing anyone to keep a collection of their favorite shows.
Good morning. If you work nights the way I do, you miss a lot of great TV shows, but I don't miss them anymore, thanks to Sony's Betamax deck, which hooks up to any TV set.
While being an important step in the evolution of media, the Betamax was not the movie machine of the future. This was mostly due to two factors. The first was that the thing was expensive as hell. The first model in the 1970s was $2,295, and that's not even adjusted for inflation. $2,295 in 1975, adjusted for inflation, is over $1 million today. Can you believe that?
No, not really. Yeah, I just looked it up. It's $13,669.
The second factor was that the Beta could only record 1 hour of television on tape max. At this point, there were full movies airing on TV with commercial breaks. So while you could easily record your favorite sitcoms or news broadcasts, you'd only be able to catch the first 40 minutes of Billy Jack.
I just go this.
Now technically, the Betamax was not the first home VCR. The Cardivision came before it in 1972 and even offered a small catalog of movies on tape.
I can bring you whatever you want to see, whenever you want to see it. Sound impossible? Not for Cardivision.
Due to its own massive price tag, it was not adopted by the public enough to revolutionize the industry just yet.
I actually took a look at an old copy of the movie catalog for the Cardivision, and I found a horror movie called The Tingler?
I'm William Castle, and I feel obligated to warn you about the next attraction you will see at this theater. The picture is The Tingler, which I directed.
So apparently The Tingler was a horror released in 1959 where theaters would attach electric buzzers to seats and shock people to simulate the Tingler tingling them. It was guaranteed that the Tingler will break loose while you are in the audience. And it was up to the audience to scream loud to defeat the Tingler. Yeah, that's not gonna be a problem. Get the Tingler away from me. I don't want the Tingler anywhere near.
Betamax scared the studios, so much so that Universal and Disney sued Sony over the device because they felt it was a machine designed to solely steal and copy their property.
A lawsuit in which they lost. So that's another fat Fortnite L for movie studios. And to make the situation even worse for them, just a year after the Betamax came the creation of the VHS from the Japanese company JVC. It was cheaper than the Betamax, still over $1,000 or $500,000 today.
Still wrong. It was also not exclusive to Sony products, which meant you didn't need a Betamax or JVC machine to watch their tapes, just any VCR that could play a VHS.
But more importantly, it could hold 2 or more hours of video on tape, aka one goddamn movie. One full Billy Jack.
In the late 70s, these were still way too expensive for the general public, but a man named Andre Blay was paying close attention to the technology. He saw the potential of VHS and Betamax tapes and how they could be used as a new way to view movies. After already being in the tape business, recording and duplicating albums for music labels and industrial training videos, he wondered, why the fuck aren't we selling movies?
So he reached out to the studios and found a business partner in 20th Century Fox, or as we like to call it, Future Disney. They made a deal where Fox would give Blay 50 of their older movies to copy and sell, and they'd get a small commission on each purchase.
By special arrangement with 20th Century Fox, Magnetic Video Corporation is proud to offer the following major motion picture on video cassette.
This led to the creation of his subscription service, Video Club of America. We actually found a commercial that was made in 1985 and uploaded to YouTube 15 years ago. Unfortunately, it is still processing, but hopefully it will be done in just a few minutes.
Video Club of America was a huge success. Despite the price at nearly $100 for some movies, people were buying movies far beyond Blay and Fox's expectations. In the late 70s, these were still way too expensive for the general public, with blank VHS tapes costing around $20 each, or like $100 now. And it sparked another, even better idea from George Atkinson, the owner of a Super 8 camera rental store in Los Angeles. He saw the potential in allowing people to rent movies instead of purchasing them forever, especially due to the large price tag for a single film. George then joined the Video Club of America and bought copies of all 50 movies that Andre Blais was selling and offered them for rent. It was so successful that George pivoted his camera store to focus on renting movies on VHS and Betamax, which became the first official video rental store. Yet another Fortnite L for studios.
Gone were the days of seeing a movie in theaters and having to hope the studios would rescreen it. Gone were the days of waiting years for a movie to air on TV. No more waiting to watch it cropped down from its original format with lesser quality and commercial breaks.
Like all technology, as the market progressed and manufacturing got cheaper, the prices also became more affordable.
Finally, you could tingle yourself at home for an affordable price.
Except for one company, Disney.
It's no secret that Disney keeps tight control over the properties they own. For decades, they've succeeded in changing US copyright law to prevent Mickey Mouse from entering the public domain. And their business model for their films before television took over relied on controlling the supply and demand. They would wow the world with Mickey Mouse, Snow White, and other animated films, only to pull them from theaters for a number of years before ever screening them again. They even, as we mentioned before, sued Sony with Universal over the original Betamax because they didn't want people recording Disney films from their TVs. Because they were caught up in that lawsuit, which they eventually lost, Fortnite L Disney, caused them to enter the VHS market later than most studios.
But it wasn't long before Disney found a way to start controlling their releases again. That came in the form of the Disney Vault.
Don't you wish you bought Pinocchio when you had the chance? Wouldn't you love to have Lady and the Tramp in your collection? Now they're gone. And time's running out for Cinderella, too.
Disney would wait 5 to 7 years before releasing their animated films on VHS, and then they would price them higher than most films to encourage people to rent them instead of own them. After a period of time, instead of continuing to sell the movies like a normal fucking company, they would pull the movies from shelves, locking it away in the Disney Vault.
After March 31st, Disney will stop selling this timeless classic. Hurry, this Easter is your last chance to add Bambi to your collection before it disappears for years to come.
Did they put a fucking ticking clock on it?
By creating limited supplies, they turned their physical releases into more than just VHS tapes of their movies. They became collector's items. This is quite possibly one of the most anti-art business practices to ever exist.
Hurry up and buy now before we lock away this piece of art and film history into a comically large vault the shape of Mickey's head.
Nothing's coming out of there.
Not even air. Bambi can't breathe.
When we were 7 and we would see those ads, specifically on rented movies, I would feel like I'd lose The Lion King forever. I'd never get to see SEX spelled out in leaves again.
I'd never get to see Bambi's mom get shot ever again.
Yeah, man.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
But during this time, the rental video store market was exploding. By the late 1980s, people all over the country owned a VCR and wanted to rent movies. But in the United States, the story doesn't end there. You've got a burger shop that people like? Franchised. You got a family grocery store? Franchised.
And what are we gonna do? Allow the money to go back in the pockets of the local families?
Oh my god. I just ran out of my water. This era also saw the rise of cable TV, where more and more channels not only screened movies with commercials, but started producing shows and made-for-TV movies at an increasing rate. And for an additional price, you could also get a movie subscription channel like HBO or Showtime, where you could watch movies all the time ad-free.
With rental stores on the rise, the world was introduced to major franchises like Blockbuster and Hollywood Video.
Well, the perfect video store.
Welcome to Blockbuster Video.
Is popping up all over the country. There's one near you.
Blockbuster Video. Wow, what a difference.
This era was a major part of our childhood. Our weekends would start by going to our local Hollywood Video nearly every Friday night.
And to sweeten the pot for families who are renting on weekends like ours, Blockbuster had multiple partnerships with big pizza chains.
I got your pizza movie. What's a pizza movie? You buy a pizzeria stuffed crust pizza from Pizza Hut, you get a free rental at Blockbuster. Pizza movie, get it? Free.
How'd you do that?
I'm Santa. I can do anything.
Now at Pizza Hut, buy a large pizzeria stuffed crust pizza for $9.99 and get a certificate for one free rental of Blockbuster Video.
But the reason this era is remembered so fondly is because rental stores became a gathering spot for your community. If you go to Blockbuster or Hollywood Video on a Friday night, you're likely to see a friend, a neighbor, or Ricky from high school that you're refusing to make eye contact with.
Do you want to come over and watch the extended cut of Lord of the Rings?
I think I'm busy,
It's
Ricky.
only 13 hours.
I don't want to do that.
This also allowed families to go somewhere together at the end of the school and work week, pick a movie, and watch it as a family. Living in the suburbs and not a walkable community, some of our fondest memories were going to Hollywood Video with our family, ordering a pizza, and having a movie night. I distinctly remember begging for candy at the checkout aisle on a Friday night, ready to have a great weekend. Tony, you remember those Hubba Bubba squeeze pop candies we'd always get?
Yeah.
Remember how we would just like slurp those down as we were watching the movie we rented? Just like absolutely going to town on those things?
Yeah, I remember. Do you remember what they look like?
Oh. Why'd they make them drip like that in the picture? By the late 90s, video rentals were a regular part of American life. As years went by, DVDs joined the process of the movie and rental business as an upgraded version of the VHS.
This is DVD. And this is what happens when you watch DVD.
Followed by the Blu-ray, and Dad, it's like a way better deal if we get a PS3. It's the same price as a Blu-ray player, and it does that and plays games. Now I know what you're about to say, it's the recession and the PS3 is $600 US. But just take it from my college fund. What do you mean I don't have a college fund?
Did you tell him it also plays games?
I told him. So there were now more ways to watch things than ever. For the most part, we think this was a really good thing. Compared to the studio monopoly, there were more options and plenty of different companies making those options. Without home movie sales and rentals, a lot of mid-budget movies wouldn't be made. And without cable TV, we wouldn't have gotten to see Tony Soprano cheat on his wife, or Don Draper cheat on his wife, or Walter White lie to his wife, or Gilmore Girls.
But technology wasn't slowing down, and the internet brought in a new evolution in video rentals. Netflix.
Gamefly.
What?
Gamefly? Oh,
No.
Netflix.
Netflix was the new kid on the block, offering movie rentals through their online webpage. Netflix's entire business model centered around offering rental video without having to leave your home.
There's a better way to rent movies. As many as you want for only $17.99 a month and no late fees. Go to Netflix.com, make a list of the movies you want to see, and in about one business day, you'll get 3 DVDs. Keep them as long as you want, without late fees. Then when you're done, look, prepaid envelopes. Return one, and they'll send you another movie from your list. It's easy.
No more late fees, no more having to physically drive to Blockbuster to rent, no more realizing on Sunday night that it's the last day of your rental. Now you've got to go out in the middle of the night and drive across town just to toss the talented Mr. Ripley in the 24-hour Dropbox.
By the way, watch out for that Ripley guy. He's fucking nuts. At this point, movies had a pretty solid process to making money. Theater screenings, VHS and DVD releases to rent and own, and later screening it on TV gave a movie the opportunity to reach people multiple times in one year.
The DVD was a huge part of our business, of our revenue stream. Technology has just made that obsolete. The movies that we used to make, you could afford to not make all of your money when it played in the theater because you knew you had the DVD coming behind the release. And 6 months later, you'd get a whole nother chunk. It would be like reopening the movie almost. And when that went away, that's suddenly a massive gamble in a way that it wasn't in the 1990s when they were making all those kind of movies, the kind of movies that I loved and the kind of movies that were my bread and butter.
But with the prominence of video on the internet growing by the day, things were about to change forever. Again. For like the 5th time in 80 years. Just like the transition to TV, consumers were moving toward the most convenient way to get their entertainment. The VHS and DVD thing was convenient in itself, but as we all know, not the big thing that changed Hollywood forever. In 2007, Netflix launched their new service that completely changed the way we consume movies and TV, their video streaming service.
Oh, hello. I'd like to tell you about Netflix. It's an amazing service that lets you watch unlimited movies and TV episodes instantly. You watch Netflix on your PC or on your TV through a game console or other devices connected to the internet.
Wow, that's fast.
And over the next decade, a movie rental company became both the way you watch movies at home and a major studio themselves. But as we all know, Netflix didn't kill all other TV and movie studios to become the sole way to watch movies at home. In an insane twist, somehow, the major major movie studios have returned. The entertainment industry was yet again forced to evolve due to Netflix and is now completely caught up with technology. Disney bought 20th Century Fox and owns Hulu and Disney+. Max is Warner Brothers, Amazon Prime owns MGM, Universal has Peacock, and Paramount Plus is Paramount.
The television companies that once panicked studio executives in 1939 have all been swallowed whole. NBC merged with Universal, ABC has been owned by Disney for decades, and CBS is owned by Paramount. Streaming not only destroyed the rental business and hit theater profits, it fundamentally changed the TV and movie business forever.
The movie, TV, and rental video businesses have all merged into one thing. And the race and fierce battle between a bunch of entertainment groups has slowly shifted and coagulated into a small handful of corporations that now have near total control.
When I became CEO 15 years ago, I envisioned a world where distribution, powered by transformative technology, would expand dramatically, almost to the point of becoming a commodity. That thinking led to the acquisitions of Pixar, Marvel, Lucasfilm, and 21st Century Fox, each bringing with them a breathtaking array of branded content and the ability to create even more of it. Fast forward, and in just a year, we've established ourselves as one of the true leaders in the direct-to-consumer space.
Now, there is a very short list of things that I want to come back from the 1940s and 50s. Back to the 1950s, but without all the races. But remember when we mentioned the antitrust laws earlier? When the US government stepped in because giving movie studios the power to make and distribute the art form of film was too much power? I mean, we're never getting that, but two boys can dream.
This entire video has been about business, which is rare for us because usually that shit is a snooze fest. But we deeply care about the art form and medium of film.
Since its invention, film has been a cultural pillar in America and the world, I think. There's just no way to know.
We looked it up, there's just nothing there.
But no matter what business model seems the most sustainable, the film industry has been forced into its current form because of technology and the convenience it brought. People wanted movies on TV. People wanted to rent tapes and DVDs. Then people wanted them shipped to their door without late fees. Finally, they just wanted to watch things like they did online, without having to buy or rent every single thing they watched.
But we've reached a really odd impasse here. We found ourselves in a place where meeting our every demand at home leaves us with barely any time in our community. Movie theaters in the 30s were the only option, but it had people engage in art basically every week in their community.
Movies on TV were more convenient, but it forced you inside your home watching commercials on a Saturday night.
Buying VHS tapes and DVDs were too expensive, but it seemed to support individual artists more than streaming.
Blockbuster late fees were a ripoff, but it allowed a space to enjoy movies with everyone around you. Streaming is overall cheaper and easier for consumers, allowing access to almost everything ever made. But it also has forced power at the top, similar to the 1930s.
They can hide streaming numbers and delete a movie that is fully finished and good that audiences love during the test screening.
Actor Will Forte has posted an open letter to the cast and crew of Coyote vs. Acme after he finally got to watch his own film. This comes amid heavy rumors the film is officially dead following Warner Brothers Discovery's recent quarterly report that included a mysterious $115 million tax write-off.
Why? Because Warner Brothers was acquired by AT&T, and now the books are just too complicated for Warner Brothers to be in the business of selling movies. So this piece of art that countless people slaved away at for years will never see the light of day because deleting it would be great as a tax write-off, while their CEO gets a 26.5% salary increase that same year. But it's not like any of these changes have stopped good movies and TV shows from coming out. In fact, there's probably more than ever right now. The fear is that some of these amazing shows and movies will disappear with the snap of an executive's fingers before they reach the public, or some won't get made entirely because it doesn't appeal to movie theaters or streaming. So what's the solution? I have absolutely no idea.
I was following your lead, I don't know.
It's been like changing for a century. I don't know how two Chicago twins were gonna figure this out.
No.
Two Chicago twins, that could be a good movie.
Now that's where it's headed. That's where we're heading with this.
Two Chicago Twins, streaming next year on Hulu, on Disney+, on Netflix, on Max.
Do I say something tiny back to the tiny? Back to the big video. I'm tiny as shit.